Welcome to Screams and Streams, the podcast that looks at the best and worst horror movies as rated on Rotten Tomatoes from 1970 onwards. I'm your host, Mike Caron, and with me is my co-host,
Chad Campbell.
Before we get to today's films, we'd like to invite you to check us out on Instagram. Our handle is @ScreamStreamPod. Also, be sure to check out our website at www.screamsandstreams.com. That's Screamsandstreams.com, where we have information about our episodes, links to our research, and our watchability scale, where we rank all of the films we are looking at. And please be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe to our show on any of the platforms where you get your podcasts. Just a warning, in the podcast, we do jump around in the plot when we are discussing the details, and we may end up spoiling the film if you haven't had the chance to see it yet. If you are someone who doesn't like spoilers, we recommend that you stop listening now, check out the film, and then rejoin us for our discussion. Today, we are looking at Jorge Grau's 1974 classic, Let Sleeping Corpses Lie. It scored 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. Let's get into it. Chad, why don't you start us off with the plot summary?
A cop chases two hippies suspected of a series of Manson family-like murders. Unbeknownst to him, the real culprits are the living dead, brought to life with the hunger for human flesh by ultrasonic radiation being used for pest control.
Excellent.
The cornerstone of any great movie.
Ultrasonic radiation?
You betcha.
So we're going to jump into our categories. Our first category is first impressions. We just want to start right off the bat saying that this is the first time that both of us have seen this film.
My first impression is that as far as a zombie movie goes, it's pretty standard. It was pretty good. I actually liked it. I liked the gore in it. I liked the story. And so I thought it was okay. It actually made me laugh out loud. I saw it more of a comedy horror than actually just a horror, but there are some pretty gross scenes. Mm-hmm. And so if you're a big zombie movie buff and you like to see a bunch of blood and guts and them just eating away, it's up there. It starts pretty slow, I'll say that. I don't think the pacing of this film was great. It took a while to get into it for me anyways. I was just like, come on. Yeah,
for a modern audience, it's going to turn a lot of people off.
It's definitely a slower start. And they are slow zombies, so we're not talking Zack Snyder's remake Dawn of the Dead where they run at you forever. These guys kind of meander towards you. But overall, I thought for a zombie movie, it held it. I mean, it's as good as anything George Romero made. So if not even
better.
A little better. Yeah. So I liked it more than Night of the Living Dead, and I liked it more than Dawn of the Dead. So I would give it that.
And this film does pay homage to Night of the Living Dead quite a bit with some shots and some references to the film. So people that know Night of the Living Dead will probably enjoy catching the little Easter eggs that are in there for them.
Right.
And I got to agree with Chad. I enjoyed the movie. A lot of that comes from my appreciation of the gore. Mm-hmm. And we'll get into that later. But up until now, it's been that comically red paint, blood, and okay makeup. But some of the effects in this are fantastic.
Oh, man. Some of the stuff we'll get into it a lot. I want to talk about it almost right now, but we're going to make you wait. Some of the scenes were just like, whoa, what is going on here? And this is 74, so they got away with quite a bit.
They definitely did. And yeah, I just enjoyed it. You're right. There's a comedy atmosphere to it, even though it's not trying to be intentionally comedic, but it does play fun and light at times. And I really enjoyed the characterization of Edna and George, the two hippies with the oldest names.
Hippies, yes. And I mean, if we're going to jump categories to what's the worst, hippies, really? Because he had his shirt down?
And he didn't shave his neck.
I didn't get the hippie reference there at all, but I like to see those two characters develop through time. One of the things I also liked was the insanely stereotypical Irish detective that just, oh, what you doing? It's just a horrible, the accent. I don't know if he was Irish.
I don't know if he was or not, but we'll get into this. Well, actually, we won't, but
I don't think we talk about it.
We won't talk about the accent much longer, but in the commentary, the one person's like, his accent is great. And I was like,
really?
At first, he didn't have an accent. No. And then all of a sudden, he becomes very Irish.
Yes, it drops. There are certain words where he nails that accent super hard. And then there's other scenes It always seems to happen when they get yelly, right? When they really start to show emotion and get loud. Nobody can seem to keep that accent when emotion is running high. And this exactly happens with this detective. Every time he gets hot under the collar, which is often.
Yep. Comes in hot, stays hot.
He loses that. But when he's talking just in a normal voice, he gets it. But in a very Lucky Charms kind of way.
Yes.
I wouldn't say he's a stellar, I don't know even what the word is. His accent is just not solid.
No, it's very much a stereotypical, someone's making fun of the Irish brogue accent.
Flatfoot cop.
All right, let's get into our next category. This is the Tropes Hall of Shame. In this category, we look at those things that we have seen over and over again in horror movies. What's been done to death? What are the things that take the suspense and originality out of the viewing experience? I'm going to get us started on this one. My first one is the point of view shot used from the monster. That observation, the eye line of the killer. I just felt
Kind
it got
of
used.
following, yeah.
Yeah, it got used a lot in this one.
Yeah.
One scene I thought used it well, but then for the rest of it, it's like, okay, we get it. And then there's like the breathing. It's like...
Oh man, the zombie noises just in general.
Yeah, so it was well done in 1974 maybe, but by now it's just, we've seen this, it's been done. And my other trope, just the police officer, just the Irish accent. He's a hard luck cop, and he's got a trench.
That was good. That's very, very close to what he did.
Yeah. And the trench coat.
Oh, right. His main accessory.
Yeah.
That and a cigarette.
So those are my tropes. What did you have for your tropes?
Mine, first, I had no one believes the one that's being attacked. First of all, the main character, Edna, she sees the zombie first.
Old Guthrie.
Yeah. And then she runs around telling people, oh, I'm being hunted. And they're all, oh, you're just hysterical, woman. Come on, get it together.
And I like that she falls in the river when she's running away from the zombie. And she's like, and he was soaking wet. And they're like, well, you're wet. Like,
You're soaking wet.
so clearly you're lying.
Yeah, that's right. Just it was just a little much. But at that time, it wasn't used to death. And really, I mean, they confirmed that this guy was dead. Oh, that sounds like old Guthrie. Well, he died 2 weeks ago, and then couldn't possibly be him. Yeah. So the Irish detective I had as well, and then the zombie noises, just all in general, not just the breathing, but just that the whole time. It just got way overplayed and too much.
Yeah, and those were all made by Jorge Grau, the director.
Yeah, I read that. Yeah, he just sat at home making breathy zombie noises. Could you imagine?
It's a good 2 hours in the studio just...
What are you doing down there? Yeah. So anyways, that was, those are my tropes. Oh, but I didn't, in my first impression, I missed this one. Roy Lovelock. That's the guy's name.
That is his real name.
That's an amazing name.
It's a great name. And my last trope, and this comes up in so many movies. I don't know if it's really a trope. It's more just a critique of an effect. But when somebody goes into a dark room and lights one candle, and then the entire scene becomes well lit.
Right.
It happens a lot in this one, and it's just like Hollywood still hasn't quite figured that out. And I think with digital cameras, they've gotten better. But back then, it's like pitch black, light a match. There's a little bit of light. They light the candle. It's like, oh, we're well lit from all sides.
Yeah.
So not quite a trope, more just criticism.
Yeah, and you're right. I don't think they know how to do that at all. They've kind of gotten around it sometimes with night vision in certain films, especially horror films. Yeah. And night vision looks creepy in horror films, so they kind of get around it that way. But for the most part, someone will turn on the light and it doesn't work. And then they'll use their lighter and all of a sudden their face is totally illuminated. I don't know if you've used a lighter to walk your way through a dark basement. It just does not work. Emit that much light.
I'm going to go on a tangent here. It's like every time somebody's walking with a torch in a tunnel.
Yes.
And they hold the torch in their line of sight and try to look past it. It's like, you can't see shit.
No. And it hurts. Fire's hot. Like, these guys hold it very, very close. And it, again, lights up the whole entire tunnel. So, no, I agree.
Always bothered me. Our next category is one-liners. These are lines from the film that stood out, either for their originality, impact, or their notability in the film. Chad, why don't you give us some of your one-liners that you found?
I have, well, at the very end, they're driving, the detective and his deputy are driving in a car, and he says, oh, this new radiation thing's great. It just killed every insect for miles. We're going to have a great apple crop. I'm nuts for apples. People listening to this may think that's stupid, but you have to watch the whole film and then see him say that stupid line. It is gold.
I'm mad for apples.
I loved it. Okay. And then the other one I have was this one here says, look, do I look like I'm about to attack you? And I've been surrounded by radiation.
Oh, so we should fill in. So George, when he's in the countryside, is trying to find his way to the Madison Castle. And he stops off in this farmer's field, and they've got this red truck from the agriculture department, and they're using some sort of radiation machine that causes insects and pests to attack each other and become violent. And this is the spoiler alert, but this is what eventually causes the dead to come back to life and these attacks to happen, is that anything with a basic nervous system becomes violent. And so hence the, I've been surrounded by this radiation all this time and I'm not attacking you.
Do I look like I'm going to attack you? And I'm surrounded by radiation. And that's what he says. There was another thing just to piggyback off that. When he pulls up in the car and he looks over to the side, you see this big red tractor and it says Agriculture Experimental Division. So you know that, oh, something's up with this. It's in big block black letters on the side of the tractor. It's just so ridiculous. Anyways, what did you have, Mike?
My lines are a bit more to the comedic, not that yours weren't. There's a scene where George goes to break the machine and they're trying to fight him off, and he throws one of the two agriculture workers down to the ground, and the other one's like, Bernard, what are you doing on the ground? As if he hadn't seen the struggle that just happened. just says it's like nonplussed, like, Bernard, what are you doing? And another one of my lines is the stereotypical Irish detective at one point. He's like, now if I could only get me hands on them.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I feel like he's going to be followed up with like, oh, they're always after me, Lucky Charms.
Yeah, I tell you, it's very Lucky Charms, this guy. Yeah. I had one that is probably coupled into what doesn't hold up, and I'll use it there as well, is he goes, you guys all come here with your long hair and faggot clothes. And I was, whoa.
Yeah.
Really taken aback by that. And that was the detective again. He's got some zingers, I'll tell you.
That is one of my doesn't hold up. Yeah, you're all the same, the lot of you, with your long hair and faggot clothes, drugs, sex, and every type of filth.
Yeah, that's the full quote. But yeah, he really gets in there. At first, you don't even think when you're watching it that these guys are hippies. Hippie is such a dated term as well. But
yeah, it's 1974.
Yeah.
And George runs an antique shop or art store. It's
right.
Like, yeah, as every hippie's known to do.
As every hippie runs their own business.
Wears jeans and a leather jacket, as hippies are known to do.
It's pretty bad how they set that whole thing up. The detective comes in and right away looks at them and is, oh, these are bad apples. So
but I'm mad about
apples.
And my last one, this is towards the end after the detective has shot and killed George. And he's, I wish the dead could come back to life, you bastard, because then I could kill you again. And again, like, he delivers it with such passion and energy. Like, he owned his part.
Oh, he really did. He hates these two people from the get-go. Yeah, he comes in hot, right what you said. He gets hotter. There are times where I have that in the what doesn't hold up category, but there are times where, yeah, you're just, whoa.
It's like he was workshopping the character with the director, and it's like, what's my motivation? I don't like them? Got it. Yeah. That's my one note, and I will carry it through
all the way through. Yeah.
That takes us to our next category, what doesn't hold up. Here we take a look at those things in the film that feel dated with a modern viewing. They may have been fresh and original at the time, but they just don't hold up when we watch them in this day and age. So I'm going to start us off with the what didn't hold up. So my first one is, in the film, there's the character of Katie, and she is living with this man, Martin, at the Madison Manor or Castle. And we don't quite know what their relationship is or what's going on, but she has sunken dark eyes. Mm-hmm. And I guess fairly early into the introduction, we find out that she is a junkie. She's a heroin addict.
Yeah.
And I don't have this in my notes, but she's cooking up a needle to shoot up, and she throws away probably a good 1/4 gram of heroin. Like, she like pours some into the spoon and throws the rest off into the floor. And it's like that no junkie would have done that.
Yeah.
But she really overplayed the manic junkie part. Like, wide-eyed, frenzied, looking around. It was too much. She just oversold it.
Yeah.
And the other one was the detective. Yeah. The detective just didn't hold up. Like, just too stereotypical. So those are my first two out the gate. What were some of yours?
Well, again, since you finished with mine was the detective. Yeah. When he interrogates George about a murder, he just picks him up and slaps him across the face, just starts beating him. And then this other inspector's, I don't agree with your methods. And he just says, well, I don't agree with yours.
Sometimes you have to use a little violence.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that didn't hold up for me. And the whole out of the gate, the damsel in distress, they all talk down to her. They all think that she's crazy and hysterical. Oh, you're just a hysterical woman. And you're just tired. Lots of that stuff. So those two things really hit home. And I was just like, she's obviously frightened and a lot of victim blaming. Let's say that. Yeah.
Well, and she's irrational, right? Like it's just typical 1970s misogyny.
Yeah.
The other one for me that didn't hold up, and this is my last one because it was going to be that line from the cop, but we've talked about that one. Sorry. This film has great special effects, does really good prosthetic work in scenes, but there's a scene in the cemetery where the cop has been killed by the zombies and he's laying there and he has these comically long arms. Like they shoot out 2 to 3 feet to either side and then down to his waist.
Yeah.
And I just Louise was watching with me and I'm like, look at this. And I backed it up. I'm like, they look ridiculous. She's like, no, not really. I'm like, no, but they do.
Yeah.
Like, it was so disruptive in the viewing because everything up to that moment had looked good. And then I was just like, how did they get this so wrong?
Yeah. No, I agree. Because I remember watching that and just kind of giving my head a shake. I was just like, are they really that big? Whatever. I didn't back it up, but I was just, okay.
And that's what I've got. So what else do you have for doesn't hold up?
Well, I had 2 more, actually. Even though the effects were pretty good, there's a scene at the end where he's coming up these stairs in the hospital. There's a guy who is a zombie and is eating pancreas or something, I don't know, some organ. And he comes up there and he lights his axe. He puts some cotton swabbing around his axe and then he pours alcohol on it and he lights that axe. Then he points, this guy's naked, like he's basically in a diaper, and he points the axe to the zombie's skin and he is ablaze almost immediately. And then the fire looks like it's coming from behind him. It's engulfed. It's starting to...
At the top of the stairs.
Yeah, and I was just, confused. I didn't get that. And the fire effect, the fact that as soon as he touches someone with fire...
The dead are very flammable.
I guess that radiation must really take it to the next level. But anyways, that didn't work for me. And at the beginning of the movie, I was just watching it with the credits and George gets on his bike and he's driving out to the countryside. And there's this woman who just takes off her trench coat and is just butt naked and runs across the street, and nobody even really bats an eye about the situation, and there's no drawback to it. Like, they don't come back to it. You never see that woman again. I don't understand what that was about.
So this came up in one of the audio commentaries.
Okay.
For the listeners, as if you've been following along, I like to rewatch these films with audio commentary. So I actually watched this one 3 times because we had 2 audio tracks, and this isn't in my bonus feature, so I may as well bring it up now. They talk about how in like the 1970s in England, streaking as a form of political protest was a big thing. Like, people would storm the fields of soccer matches or football matches with like slogans on their body, and to raise awareness or to protest in some way.
Okay.
So when you have the opening credits where it's showing the countryside, but also crossed with this like garbage strewn British city.
The city, yeah.
I think that the streaker is supposed to be like a protest for environmentalism, right? Because that's the big message. George is an environmentalist.
That's true, yeah. And he attacks the agriculture department because of what they're doing, right? Yeah.
Right, yeah. So I think that that's where that comes from, but they could have painted something on her body to show that she was protesting a cause. But you're right. It's just this woman just strips naked, raises her arms, runs across traffic, and they cut to scenes of people just sitting in the bus, not looking. Yeah. So it wasn't well done.
There is absolutely no explanation. So the fact that you know that is awesome, because I had no idea what was going on with that. So that could make sense now, but definitely should have been done better.
Yeah, for sure.
So that everybody can get that.
Yeah. They missed a mark on that because it was just like, unless you understood that, a lot of streaking took place. It still does, but they've actually, in sports broadcasts, they refuse to show the streakers.
Right.
Because they're hoping to dissuade them from doing this. That takes us on to our next category, most gratuitous scene. For this category, we are looking at those moments in the film that go too far. This could be gore or violence, but it can also be an overuse of something by the director that impacts the way the film is viewed. Chad, why don't you start us off on this one?
All right. My gratuitous one first out of the gate was zombie noises. Just way too overdone.
Or sorry, I should say, yeah, zombie noises.
There's just so much breathing, so much growling throughout the whole time the zombies are on. And in every zombie movie, there's a lot of, in that old 80s one, Return of the Living Dead, where they're like, braids, they actually come out and say it. But in all the other movies, it's just this one is just so much. He just really puts that audio basically over everything. And for me, it just became annoying.
My first sort of gratuitous scene, or most gratuitous scene, was the shots of pollution in the opening. This whole film, like, George is an environmentalist and they're doing something that messes with nature, and this is what causes the zombie apocalypse. The message is there, but in the opening credits, it's just shots of garbage after garbage after garbage after garbage.
Yeah, and just look how disgusting we are.
Yeah, our world is horrible. Well, the thing that's kind of funny about this is the film is supposed to be set in Manchester, and when the filmmakers got to Manchester to shoot scenes for the opening credits, they're like, oh, this city's a lot cleaner than we thought it would be. So then they're like, what city could we go to? And they filmed all of those shots in a city called Sheffield. And I just got back from the UK, and let me tell you, I was not surprised.
Oh, really?
That Sheffield is, I was there for less than 24 hours and it was enough. Sorry, Sheffield, but even a taxi driver asked us, why are you here? What else do you have?
For gratuitous, I have so much eating of the zombies, just lots. Like, once it gets going, as I said in the introduction, the pace is pretty slow, but once it picks up, it goes full bore and there's no backing down. And these zombies just start ripping things apart and eating, and they're just showing clips of eating and blood and eating and blood. In fact, there was supposed to be a scene where the zombie eats the eyeball and she reaches down, but they apparently cut it out. Must have been a little too much. Anyways, there's a lot of that. If that's your thing for horror movies and zombie movies, I mean, it is a zombie movie, so there should be some eating, obviously, and some violence with that. But yeah, there is a lot of eating.
Yes. Sorry. Again, another thing that I didn't write down, but it comes from one of the audio commentaries.
Go ahead.
These things were gold.
No, jump in. Yeah.
So the effects master on the film figured that the actors would like take a bite and then spit after cut was called, but they didn't. So he had, and so he was worried about, like, they're going to be biting into these organs that I can make the outsides look bloody and gross, but when they bite into it, it's going to be foam or whatever.
Right.
So he infused it with like paint, wax, and sugar and all these things just so that it was soaked with blood. So when they bit into it, if the camera caught the inside, it would still look right.
Right.
But he never thought they would eat it. So on the first day, the actors are all eating and swallowing, and he keeps his mouth shut. The next day they get to the set, and I guess he's like walking around, and the three zombie actors are like, oh, I don't feel so good. And they're all like, oh, me neither. Oh, me neither. And they're all just like, oh, we should not eat at that restaurant in town again. And I guess the effects artist is like, oh, which one? I don't want to go there either. Like,
oh, he totally keeps it hidden. Yeah. Oh, man.
He knew exactly why they were sick, but he didn't want to get in trouble for basically poisoning the cast.
He's starting his own zombie apocalypse by poisoning the cast with wax and garbage in the organs that they're supposed to. Oh, my God.
So good. But those organs did look good. Like, he did a great job.
They did look very, very well done. That is for sure.
On the topic of blood, that's a good segue into mine. I guess I wasn't really gratuitous, but there is a scene in the hospital where George is talking to the doctor and an alarm rings and he's like, oh, it's the nursery again.
Right.
And that line alone, I'm like, the nursery again?
Yeah.
And you go up and there's this baby that has pulled the eye out of a nurse's head, and it's got blood on its fingers, blood on its clothing.
Yeah.
And they keep showing these close-ups of these, like, this, just a baby. It's just a baby being a baby. But like, it really, really made me uncomfortable and unsettled me.
Did it?
Yeah, I didn't like it.
I laughed.
Oh,
I thought it was ridiculous. I in fact, in one of my notes, I said, so the baby pulled the eye out of this nurse? Like, she couldn't overpower the baby? And why? So anyways, I just thought it was laughable. And when I saw it, and this is maybe why it didn't hit quite so much at home for me, when I saw it, it looked like he just kind of gashed her eye. It didn't look like he
pulled the eye out,
popped it out, right? So when the nurse came out and she's, ooh, too. And the nurses, man, they're pretty bad actors. It was rough to watch their scenes. But she comes out, and I just thought she was scratched up. So maybe if I went back and rewatched it, I would see a little more into that. But even George, when he goes to hold the baby down. So I don't know. And this is another question I had, actually, when it comes into first impressions, which I skipped again, is why are they so strong? Like, this radiation must make these zombies superhuman or super strong, right? Because there's a scene where the guy is killed by the first zombie, and they say, oh, he's incredibly strong. He must have caved his chest in.
Well, the line is, someone had fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Like, and it's like, what? Was it like a lunatic? A lunatic or something, but he crushed his torso or his body cavity.
Every bone is broken. Yeah, yeah. So right away, I just thought, well, why are they so strong? And so this baby, George is trying to hold down this baby, and it nicks him.
Yeah.
And he's like, ow, and he gets his finger cut or whatever. Oh, he's trying to get me.
See, I don't even want to say this next part, but I was literally watching that going like, this is more disturbing than the baby in Trainspotting for me.
Oh no, that was way so messed up.
See, that scene never got me, but this one I was just like, oh, I don't like this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. And I don't have kids.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting that I didn't really take to this one. I just thought it was maybe more unbelievable. And just like even a baby with super strength.
Yeah. See, and I just didn't like the idea of a baby being used as a killer. I think that's what bothered me.
Yeah, fair enough.
Would you have another gratuitous scene?
Well, I mentioned the nude woman, but you had to explain that. So I just thought she didn't really need to be in there because they did it so poorly. It just didn't make sense. So I just thought it didn't need to be there.
I do have one more gratuitous scene, and I'm hoping that you don't trash this one.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. There's a scene in the hospital where the receptionist is on the phone and just having a conversation with her friends, and the zombies attack her, and they open up her shirt and they grab her breast. And unfortunately, this is again where the effects fall short. Like right away, you can tell something's wrong with it. Mm-hmm. But they rip off her breast, and then his other hand is like down in the skirt and rips her guts out.
Yeah.
At first I'm like, did they like rip out her uterus? Is this like 2 sexual attacks? But then I like on rewatching, it was just intestines.
Yeah. I thought the same thing. I thought that scene was actually one of the more disturbing scenes in the whole film.
Mm-hmm. Especially because his hand comes out of her skirt with.
Oh, it goes down there. Yeah. And then when I was watching it, I was just, whoa, what's happening? And then he picks out the intestines, and I was like, I think
it was more.
He was going down there. Yeah. It was very disturbing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, I agree. Yeah. You got me on that one. Yeah.
Thank you.
Babies. No. But
Babies. Our next category is what stood the test of time. So what part of the films feel fresh, original, or extremely well done? We're looking at the parts of the film that don't give it a dated feel or that add to the enjoyment of the horror experience as we watch. I'm going to start us off with the test of time. I actually had 2, but I crossed one out. But it's the gore. The gore stood the test of time. There's a scene where Martin, who is the man who's helping Katie or trying to help her rehab and get off the dope, and he gets attacked by a zombie at night, and he swings a rock and hits the zombie in the head, and when the rock pulls away, just the blood of that injury was so good. Like, just watch this movie for the blood. It's not the typical 1970s bright red.
No.
It is dark. It is viscous. It's very well done. Yeah. That's my stood the test of time. What do you have for yours?
Yeah, well, I have to piggyback on that and say the effects really stood the test of time for me. The organs, the gut ripping, all the blood. You mentioned that scene, but the scene at the end with the axe, one of the zombies takes an axe and swings it at the doctor and hits him square in the forehead. And when he pulls the axe away, it's pretty fucked up. So I was just, whoa.
That axe wound was great.
Yeah, it was really, really well done. And shot like, you follow the axe to his head, and then there's no like bad cut where you see a dummy head or anything like that. I just rewatched Starship Troopers, and when that guy gets shot in the head and he makes this dumb face, and you can tell that it's a dummy head, and then when it explodes, it's, oh yeah, okay. But there's none of that. There's no hard cuts that make you think, oh wow, they put a dummy in there. It's very well done. So yeah, I had to back up the effects. Yeah.
Another one I liked that stood the test of time was, I know I made fun of the fact that they light a candle and it lights up the room, but the lighting in the film in a lot of other scenes I thought was fantastic.
The tomb was
very
crazy tense. Yeah, that was very well done. Yeah.
And like when George returns back to Martin's place to confront the police, and there's all the cop cars parked and the police are walking out of the light to confront him. Yeah. They're backlit. Just the atmosphere in that was so well done. And even earlier when Martin's fighting, he's trying to take night photos of waterfalls and flowers. So he has his camera on a timer and there's this flashing of the camera. And even that was kind of cool where it goes like,
while he's being killed.
Yeah.
And it's just,
yeah.
Like it's all happening almost like stop motion. No, I agree. Yeah. The lighting in it was very well done.
And do you have another one?
I do. The ending. I thought the ending was really, really well done.
Yeah.
I loved the fact that it's okay to spoil because we said we're going to spoil, right? So, So the detective comes in and he shoots George and he says, I wish I could have, what's the line again, Mike?
I wish the dead could come back to life, you bastard, because then I could kill you again.
So this whole time he thinks that George is killing everybody. George and Edna are killing everybody. And then they're burning. Why did you burn the bodies? It's just very, very silly. But so it's
pretty morbid from the detective's perspective.
I know. Yeah, for sure. This guy's messed up. He's killed so many of my men and he ripped their guts out and all this stuff. He goes in there and in the hospital, which is pretty much the climax of the movie. The detective comes in and he shoots George and he shoots him 3 or 4 times. Then he says that line and then they're back in the car and then the apples line happens.
Yeah.
But then the detective goes into his apartment building and he turns around and this radiation thing has expanded to miles.
Yeah, they've improved the machine now.
Yeah, so now it can reach up to 5 or 6 miles. I don't know 5 miles, I think it is. Anyways, that seems to be the radius that George was in. And so he's brought back to life and he is in the apartment when the detective, and he turns around and George gets the detective and I almost cheered. I was just, yes, that's so awesome that so as he's dead, he gets his revenge. Yeah.
Well, and there's the whole like liberals versus fascists.
Right.
Like George even says like Heil Hitler.
Yeah.
To the detective.
That's right.
Yeah.
I bet you hate cops too. Well, you're making it easy.
So there's the discussion of like with the death of George and Edna within 15 seconds of each other.
Yes.
Right. Like you see Edna gets killed, comes back to life. George has to burn her, and you're like, oh my God, they killed off the main woman. And then 15 seconds later, he shot to death.
The main guy gets killed. Yeah.
So the fascists win, and then you get that victory at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so good.
Which at that time, especially, not a lot of lead characters die.
No.
Right? You're more or less keeping them alive for the duration of the film.
Yeah.
And they were alive till the bitter end. And then when he shot him, I was, what? No way.
I know. I was totally agog.
Yeah. So the ending, it stood the test of time for me. It was a twist. I liked it. I thought it sold it for me.
One thing that I just remembered, I didn't write it down. I didn't think about it till just now, though. When we talked about the changing to death, to the living dead, sorry, they all have these contacts in.
Oh, those eyes. Yeah.
I thought those were
so cool. They look so good. Yeah. No, I agree.
You always get these close-ups on these sort of like red, jagged, irised eyes.
Yeah.
And they did not look out of place or anything. So
no, really, really well done. Yeah. For that time, man. Like what were they using? Lead?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Those guys
all got cancer in the eyes.
Again, the effects in this movie, just for if you want to see a good zombie film for anything else, for nothing else, the effects sell this movie alone.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It is, like we said, it is slow, but it pays off.
Yeah, it's worth the grind. And it's not even that bad. It's just, in zombie movies, it seems to happen almost instantaneously. Like something happens, next thing you know, zombies are around. Oh, why are they here? And they're killing people. Whereas here, it takes a while.
But I think that really helps with like the enjoyment or the care, because if we went straight into just a zombie attack film and we didn't have this sort of buildup of who George and Edna were and their life and their like Katie and Martin, like if they didn't establish all of that characterization, we wouldn't be as invested in what's actually happening. So I think that helped.
Fair enough. Well, I agree, because you do become invested in these characters, which is why the ending pays off so well, because what the heck? She dies. He burns her.
Yeah.
And then he gets shot out of the blue. I was not expecting it.
No.
And then the detective gets it. So it's really, well done. I like the movie.
All right. So now our back it up moments. We've sort of been on this topic. So yeah, what is your back it up moment?
My back it up moment would be when the detective dies. That's probably my favorite part of the film. I did like the tomb scene as well, just because it did create a lot of tension when they're trying to get out through that little hole. Like he has to climb a ladder up to this area and he has to
like break through the back end of the tomb.
So they can get out of a grave, a shallow. It was, and that's pretty disturbing as well. So I did really like that. So yeah, probably those two. I didn't mention this earlier, but I was confused in the tomb scene why every time he just kills a guy, and then the transient, what's his name again? Guthrie, yeah. So he rubs his hand down the wall of this freshly killed victim of his, and he puts the blood on the eyes of the zombies, or of the dead people, and then that brings them to life.
Yeah, which doesn't make sense.
I didn't think that made sense at all.
No, they've established that it's the machine that brings them back to life, but then there's this weird like anointing of the eyes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then George somehow knows why it's the blood of the living that brings them back.
Yeah.
But that's not what happens in any other part of the film.
Well, nobody puts blood on George's eyes, right?
No. And nobody puts blood on does Martin put blood on the guys in the morgue, or is it the machine that brings them back?
Oh, I don't know, because nobody puts blood on Martin's eyes either.
No,
but he comes back
Martin
to life.
Comes back because the
machine's
expanded, right? So I don't understand that part. Missed for me.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure why. First of all, why they were so strong, and I just chalked it up as the radiation. I was like, okay, well, that's making them super strong. But then when he was putting the blood on the eyes of the victims or of the bodies, I didn't get it.
No, I never really thought about that hard either. But yeah, now that you say it, it doesn't make sense.
No, so I don't know. I think if you're going to pick a way to zombify, stay with one. Mm-hmm. They mentioned the occult one time because George is an antique dealer, so he must be part of an occult.
Okay. Can we bring that up now, since we're on this with he's part of the occult and he's an antique or arts dealer.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the movie, it opens with George.
Yes. Sorry.
I have so many problems with it. I've got questions. They're listed here. I'm showing my paper to chat. Again, this is an audio medium, not a visual. Right. So the film opens with George in his art store. And it focuses on this, I don't know, I don't even want to guess where the art, but an art piece that is clearly from another culture.
Yes.
Yeah, to put it politely. And he picks it up and moves it from the desk, and then he puts it onto a stand next to a hookah and some candlesticks, or maybe it's the whip, I don't know.
Yeah.
And he leaves the shop, and we see that artifact is still in the store. Then later, he gets into a car accident where he's parked at a gas station. His motorbike's behind this vehicle. The woman backs into his motorbike. It falls over. This is how
George and Edna meet.
Yes, it's their meet cute. And out of his bag, or out of his saddlebag, falls the artifact from the other culture, a whip, and a candlestick. All the things that we've been shown were in the shop when he left.
Right.
Now, he just quickly stuffs them back into his bag like, oh, nobody should see these. So I'm like, oh, is he stealing art? Is that why he needs to get to Windermere, is to sell this to a collector? But he's not upset. Like he's not confused or surprised that he has these items. He just wants to get them back into his bag. And they're never spoken of again. They're never referred to again. It just drove me nuts.
Me too. And even at the beginning of the film, when he leaves, he closes his door and it's like closed for the holidays. He goes out and the camera does a Ken Burns slow zoom into the antique shop, and these these green rings start showing, and then these eyes, the red eyes that you see throughout the film, show up.
Right? We see Guthrie's eyes.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, these artifacts are possessed or something, and they're going to cause some zombie shit to go on. But then later on, the only reference to those artifacts is when the detective pulls him in for interrogation and he says, you got this hippie shit in your bag, and he's giving him crap. He's like, oh yeah, so I must be part of the occult, and they just write it off.
Yeah.
And then
never to speak of again.
Yes. And then we get this radiation pest control device that ultimately is the reason for the zombies, but they don't spread each other by cuts or scratches or biting or anything like that. It's not a virus. So they just anoint them with the blood of the living, which he's not even living. That guy was dead, way dead.
Yeah.
When he took the blood and put it. So there are some holes. Let's just say that. Okay. They obviously started on a path and changed it, and then just scenes got cut or whatever. But there are some holes in this movie.
I also, again, back to the opening credits. I can't get off of this. Well, it just because it's like you're establishing things. There's got to be a reason. And so when we first see the camera pan across the art shop, there's the black picture that eventually the camera will zoom into during the opening credits or to start the opening credits. And there's a picture beside it of a woman in sunglasses and a hat. When George leaves the store and we start to zoom into that picture, the black picture with like the atomic bomb or whatever it is, or the fire.
Right. Yeah.
The woman in the sunglasses and hat picture is no longer beside there. It is now being reflected within it. So again, like right away, I'm like, oh, who is this woman? What will she come back with?
Right.
Why are we establishing that she's in this picture? Oh, for no reason. Like this movie could have started with George on his motorcycle and nothing would have changed.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I totally agree. Yeah. The whole antique shop, him leaving the shop didn't even need to be addressed.
Yeah.
And it didn't play to his character really at all. They don't really mention it a whole lot. It's, I'm meeting these guys to sell them some artifacts or something.
Nothing. None of that is brought up.
Yeah, so that's super annoying.
My back it up moment was back at the beginning when George and Edna are lost and they've come to the end of a road and George goes off to find somebody that can help them to get to Martin and Katie's cottage or cabin or castle. It's referred to in so many different ways. The Madisons. Edna is waiting by the vehicle. And I know I said the trope of the point of view was overused, but this is when we first get introduced to the very first zombie and they're tracking along this river. It's beautiful. It's green. It's filmed in the Peaks District of England, which is just very natural. And we do get that like breathing. It felt very reminiscent. Well, I guess not reminiscent, but it reminded me of the Friday the 13th, like kill.
Yeah.
And then Guthrie comes stumbling out of the woods and starts to attack Edna, and we get that zoom into the eyes. I picked that scene because honestly, watching this whole movie, I was like, I can't find anything great, but I remember that scene going like, this is well done for the time.
Right.
Yeah. So that's my back it up.
It did create a lot of tension. They really nailed the key though. The fact that she reaches for the key and it's gone.
Yes.
When she made a comment to him, why are you taking the keys in the first place?
He's like, I can't trust you to not drive away without me. And she almost did because she was being attacked.
She would have, yeah. That was the other thing that kind of about this film. The beginning of the film was probably the weakest part of the film because that whole scene where she backs up, hits his bike, wrecks his tire.
Yeah.
And first of all, how far? Like he was pulled up right close to her. For her to back up and wreck his tire and cause it to be in that bad a shape, she would have had to started going forward for a while and really kind of come back.
Wrapped it up. Yeah.
Anyway, so that's a little thing, problem I had with it. And then he just like, well, you're taking me here. Yeah. You're going to drive and I'm driving. And then they get to the part where they're supposed to go two separate ways. She's supposed to go to this Madison cottage and he's supposed to go to Windermere. Is it? Yeah. So anyways, he goes off that he's going to go his route in her vehicle with her. And she's just, no, I really have to get to my sister's cottage. So drop me off there and you can take the car and then I'll come get it later. I was just, you just met this guy. And not only did he steal your cigarette.
Yeah, that was great.
Drive your car and isn't going to take you to where you want to go, but is taking you to where he has to go. This seems a little crazy right now.
Yeah. It all was accepted way too quickly.
Yes.
Initially. Yeah. But again, it's like why did they run into the house? Like we can't keep asking these questions.
No, that the first half hour I would say is the weakest part of the film. After that, it picks up and it's pretty good.
Now that we've finished up with the categories, we're going to get to our bonus features. As we watch the movies, we also do some research to add to the experience of watching them. These are things that we found that add color to the story of the production. I'm going to get started with a few of the things that I found. As I said, there was 2 audio tracks that came with my copy, and so I watched it with both. The first one was Troy Howarth, who is a writer for Temple of Schlock and a few other things. The first one he pointed out that I thought was just a neat little sort of Easter egg for us. Vincenzo Tomasi, who's the editor of this film, was also the editor of 1970's Fulci's Lizard in a Woman's Skin.
Oh, yeah, interesting.
Another film that I think was pretty well done. So
yeah.
The budget for this one was $500,000 US. So in today's dollars, that would be $2.5 to $3 million. And the other thing that I really pulled from their audio commentary was the number of titles and the various titles on this one. There's 16 alternate titles for this. The Spanish and Italian gets translated as "Do Not Profane the Sleep of the Dead."
Oh, interesting.
I found it as "Let Sleeping Corpses Lie," but the credits had it as "The Living Dead at Manchester Morgue."
Yeah, I was worried I was watching the wrong movie.
Yeah, I meant to text you and say, like, just so you know, this is the right one. In Italy, it was "Where Are You From?" Which,
okay.
Yeah, it does make sense. The US, when it first opened, was "Breakfast at the Manchester Morgue," which doesn't make sense, but it's kind of gruesome with the amount of body eating that you
yeah.
I think, were they hoping like breakfast at Tiffany's, breakfast at Manchester Morgue? I don't know. And then it was reissued as "Don't Open the Window." And when it was reissued, actually, it was a double feature with "Last House on the Left."
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
which
interesting.
I think that'd be a good night of cinema.
Yeah.
And the last title that sort of jumped out was "Do Not Speak Ill of the Dead." So
but they don't really speak ill of the dead.
No, I think that's just a bad translation of the profane.
Right.
Right? Because there's "Do not profane the sleep of the dead. Do not speak ill of the dead."
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I found interesting here, the director Jorge Grau purposely cast an actress known for having a flat chest in the role of the nurse so that a fake chest piece could be applied to the zombies so that they could tear into it for the death scene. I know that was so you're just purposely you're too big. We got to have a good.
In the second audio commentary, they're like, I think that's the first time that's ever happened.
Yeah. It's one of the first movies to use a gut ripping scene.
Oh, and they did a good job with it. So
they do. They really
set a
did.
standard.
It actually looks better than some of the Dawn of the Dead ripping scenes that they use in there. I mean, when that biker gang gets in there, it just goes hog wild. Like it's crazy when that happened. Also, I had the cemetery scenes in the film were shot at the historical English graveyard where Robin Hood's Little John is said to have been laid to rest. The production experienced trouble when tourists arrived to see the crew, and they were all hanging around in the cemetery. Complaints were made, and the film crew was forced to wrap the shots in the cemetery in 24 hours.
Yep. I love the irony of the fact that they're making a environmentalism film.
Right.
And the cast is like, yeah, we're just going to throw our shit everywhere.
Yeah.
The other audio commentary was Bruce Holochuk from Cinema Arcana and Nathaniel Thompson from Mondo Digital. And I brought up a few other points already, but a couple other things they pointed out. This one really kind of colors the tension or terror in the tomb scene. When George is climbing into the, I guess, tomb, and the zombies are pulling at his legs, right? Which, of course, that's where they can reach, that's something you can grab.
Yep.
But they said, like, this comes from when Grau was a child. His mother, sorry, I shouldn't laugh because it is disturbing. Grau's mother used to tell him that if he misbehaved, that dead people would come into his room at night, grab him by his feet, and pull him to hell.
Jesus.
Yeah. So then you watch the scene and he puts like, there's so many scenes with like moments or shots where they're pulling at his feet and pulling. And it's like,
oh, that's harsh, man.
Yeah. Like, can you imagine being a kid? Like I would sleep in the fetal position or pike position.
Oh man, I couldn't sleep. There's no way. Yeah.
Another one is Christina Galbo, who plays Edna. Her husband died days before filming began.
Oh.
Yeah. So some of her emotion and dealing with like the death and like all of that around her. And he died of cancer, which isn't a pleasant way to watch someone go.
Right. Yeah.
So now she's watching these living dead creatures and being surrounded by death and morbidity. Like, I don't know how you pull your mind from that into this film.
Pretty hard. Yeah.
Yeah. So good for her. Good for her for pulling it around. A couple of things I saw when I was sort of digging around online. We've brought up Cinefantastique in the past where they praised And Soon the Darkness, and we just didn't understand where that came from.
Mm-hmm.
I think they missed the mark on this one again. where they say Grau joins that select group of directors whose films are to be avoided at all costs.
What?
I know. Like, this is 2 out of 2 references to Cinefantastique on our podcast where they just
slam the ones that we liked.
Well, they praised And Soon the Darkness that we did not enjoy.
No, I didn't.
And then slam this one. I just don't get it. I don't know where that comes from. Leonard Maltin liked this film. It's considered one of the best British horror films and one of the best of the zombie genres.
Yeah.
And the only other one I had is Roy Lovelock, great name, played Fiedka in Norman Jewison's Fiddler on the Roof. And he was really, for people of the Western audience, that was really the only actor that had any sort of crossover success. The rest of the cast and the writers did a lot of work in the Giallo movement in Italy.
Oh, yeah.
They all have great IMDb lists, but I mean, I'm listing movies that nobody probably would have heard of, so I'm not going to bother digging that deep. Did you have anything else for bonus features? I
just found a little interesting thing here about the guy who played the Wanderer, who was supposed to be died drowning, is they had to keep him wet the whole film. Yeah. And he got apparently very annoyed that he was wet all the time. And that would be, when you're filming for 15 hours a day and you're being soaked down all the time, that would suck. And he fell quite ill after. Oh, did he? Yeah. That's too bad. You really got to read your character before you sign on for a role. That's right. Your character will be wet for the whole movie. The whole movie? Oh, I think I've got a vacation in Ibiza to go to. Yeah. I think I'm out of here. And one other interesting thing is the owl that was trained and perched in the hotel is a barred owl, which I saw this weekend, just recently at Slave Lake. So, nice. Yeah. Speaking of the Owl Hotel, did you notice during the interrogation scene, they're inside one of the offices in the hotel. They're not in the police station when they're interrogating George. Yeah. But did you see the lettering on the window? No. Where it's not the OWL Hotel, it's the OLW Hotel. Ah. Right. So apparently Arthur Kennedy, who plays the inspector, was one of the few non-Italian actors in the film. Oh, okay. So he would be the only one that may have noticed this misspelling. But I just love the fact that it's backwards to the camera, so you would never know. And I didn't notice it until it was pointed out in the commentary. Yeah. One of the things I also liked about that whole scene in the hotel was George comes in there hot, eh? Yeah. Right away, he calls it a whorehouse, and he's like, "We're staying here the night, not the hour, and separate rooms." And she's like, "This is a respectable." Sure it is. And I don't know where that came from. I don't know either. Cause like there's a sign that says like backpackers and hikers will be served in the hallway, because they know they're just going to be carrying out. So they don't want them taking up space in the pub. So there was nothing there that made it seem like it would be. There seemed to be a lot of conflicting character traits of George. He comes to the country to relax, but he doesn't respect the country really at all. Right. Yeah. He comes in there and he's mean to the locals. He says he just loves to relax and listen to the grass grow. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. There were some weird things, like environmentalist, but doesn't want to like be in the environment. Yeah. Yeah. So overall, I liked the movie. I liked the gore. As far as zombie movies go, very well done. Mm-hmm. The score was unsettling. Yeah, it was very well used. But well done. The lighting and cinematography was well done. The editing was well done. Other than the character flaws and the plot holes that come mainly at the beginning of the film. For me, I know we go on Rotten Tomatoes, but it was 6.8 on the IMDb website. But I would even go as high as, I would give it 7.5. 7.5 out of 10. Yeah. Yeah. I was waffling between the 7 and the 8. And I think 7.5 is exactly where we'd put it. So on the watchability scale though, I guess I have to create a special category for the 0.5 here. Yeah. Sorry. No, that's okay. No, because you're right. I don't think it just, I think because of the flaws, it just kind of doesn't push. Like there are great moments in this film, but there are also some laughable ones and maybe that's because it's 1974, but I think mainly it's because of the storytelling or the writing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I just don't think it pushes into that 8. Yeah, no, for sure. I 100% agree on that one. That was Let Sleeping Corpses Lie. Thank you very much for listening to us. Be sure to check out our social media pages
On Instagram, we are at ScreamStreamPod with no S's. Stop by our website, www.screamsandstreams.com, to check out information about all of our episodes and the films we have covered so far. And please subscribe, rate, and comment on our shows on any of the platforms where you get our podcasts. Until next time, this has been Mike and
Chad.
Have a great day.